I think another thing for us is the capability of our people to actually build a reliable picture. You know, it's fair to say in any organisation you have different people that are varying levels of capability. And actually something that I think Horsefly really enables us is that we've got that one place we can go that gives us a kind of standard approach to how we deliver insight, which means that we can ensure that one hire manager experience is the same as another. The expectations from hire managers is that we have all of the answers at our fingertips. They expect us to know everything about the markets that we operate in. They expect us to be able to justify why we can't fulfil a requirement because we should know, because we're recruitment experts. We all know that that's not the case, and we know therefore that the value of having data to influence that conversation becomes really powerful. So in terms of the past year, or past 8 months, 9 months, whatever it is, we've introduced Horsefly across capital resourcing. And as I said, there's a number of different areas that we really utilise the tool really effectively. And I think this is important for us as an organisation because it's enabled us to maximise the return on investment we get with Horsefly, because we're not just using it in one pocket, we're utilising it across all of the different parts of the business. So as I said, we've got a sourcing team, and that sourcing team, whilst a capable sourcing function, have really benefited from using Horsefly for a number of reasons. Number one, it helps to have a detailed conversation with either the hiring manager or the recruiter that they're taking that brief from to really qualify the need and actually use Horsefly to start really increasing the understanding of the requirement. And you think about things like the associated keywords that you get from Horsefly, that suddenly potentially opens up a different conversation when you start seeing the associated keywords that come back off the original search string that you build, which potentially then opens up the opportunity because you start challenging the hiring manager or the recruiter as to whether you could also consider these skills, because these are the skills that Horsefly are telling us that the market is recognising as being relevant. You think about some of the things that Ryan talked about in terms of identifying competitors in the market. Well, that enables our sourcing function to actually start thinking about who should we proactively going out and targeting from a sourcing perspective, because we can now start seeing the types of organisations that are actually recruiting similar people with similar skills. And whilst a hiring manager may have some insight into the obvious competitors, typically that's competitors within that same sector. But when you start thinking about competitors that are looking for the same skills but within a different sector, again, not only does that open up an opportunity to start looking at candidates from a different space, but it also drives that conversation with the hiring manager about, you're talking about candidates that need this skill within this sector, but have you noticed that there's also these types of organisations that are also recruiting the same types of people? Would you consider those types of people within your opportunity? And again, from a sourcing team perspective, what it's really helping us do is determine whether a sourcing team should be used, right? Because our sourcing function is not big enough to work every vacancy across the organisation. But with the insight, we can actually have a challenging conversation with either the recruiter or hiring manager to say, whilst sourcing could be an option, actually the reality is we need to think differently about how we operate for this vacancy, because this is going to be a really difficult role for us to source. And that actually might mean that we need to think creatively about a campaign, but it also might be that we actually up front recognise the need to go to agency, and we're therefore pushing the right strategy based on the fact that up front we have that focused conversation. Talks about right research. We've got Emmy in the room today, but we provide insight into the external market. And for us, I think there's a number of ways that we use Horsefly. Number one, it actually starts a conversation with the client about why they might find insight useful. And Emmy was talking about, I can't remember what example.
Python developers,
Python developers, yeah.
There's only 3, so
that could be a search.
Could be research.
But what that opens up is a conversation with the client about the fact that they may be facing a particular challenge, and the conversation headline might be, we recognise that you're recruiting Python developers, we recognise that's a really difficult market, we know there's only a very small number, would you like us to go out and find who those are for you? And that's a lead generator for right research.